Listen, if you're a family of four planning a move to Canada in 2026, you're going to need between $5,900 and $6,400 a month just to survive. We are completely skipping the pleasantries in this explainer and getting straight to the hard numbers. Because if you're actually migrating to Canada, your entire livelihood literally depends on understanding this financial reality. You're not just casually browsing here, you're planning a massive life transition. You need a clear, zero-fluff blueprint. So let's build it. Yeah, let that staggering figure sink in right away. $5,900 to $6,400. And to be absolutely clear, this is not some luxury budget padded with weekend getaways and daily restaurant trips. No, this is the realistic bare minimum monthly cost to keep a family of four housed, fed, and moving in Canada right now in 2026. If you're a single adult, that number sits closer to $3,300 to $3,800. With national inflation having seriously pushed up the baseline over the last few years, arriving unprepared is just a one-way ticket to immediate financial stress. Okay, let's start breaking this down with the ledger's biggest bites: housing and utilities. So, the brutal reality of your budget really comes down to location. Choosing a Tier 1 major city like Toronto is going to cost you over $2,100 a month, and that's just for a single-bedroom apartment. If you need a whole family home, you're easily blowing past the $3,000 mark. But contrast that with Calgary at $1,820 or Winnipeg way down at $1,400. These value regions in the prairies offer the exact same square footage for literally hundreds of dollars less per month. Since housing typically eats up 35 to 50% of your total living expenses in Canada, your geographic destination is, without a doubt, your single most important financial decision. And this is exactly why that destination matters so much. In provinces like Ontario and British Columbia, rent alone can swallow up more than half of your average net income. It leaves you with practically zero breathing room for, well, anything else. But in the prairies or parts of Atlantic Canada, think places like New Brunswick or Manitoba, finding units for $1,200 to $1,400 means you actually have margins left over. You can actually save, invest, and, build a future. Now, beyond just putting a roof over your head, keeping the lights and heat on is another massive factor. Your basic utilities, so we're talking electricity, heating, water, and internet, those will run between $325 and $400 monthly on average. But pay attention to the regional extremes here. There is a huge Quebec advantage. Thanks to their abundant, low-cost hydroelectric power, total utility costs in Quebec stay incredibly low, usually around $220 to $290. Conversely, if you head up to the Northern Territories, you get hit with the Northern penalty, where remote diesel-dependent grids push those exact same basic needs well past $500 a month. And here is a crucial point. You absolutely must budget for the winter heating trap. Heating can easily account for 40 to 60% of your total utility costs during those peak winter months. If you're only planning your monthly expenses based on a mild July utility bill, January in Canada is going to hit your wallet like a freight train. Next up on our ledger, daily survival. These are the reoccurring costs of simply feeding yourself and getting to work every single day. Right now, you're going to need $75 to $110 per person per week for baseline groceries in Canada. So for a single adult, you are looking at roughly $300 to $450 a month just for the supermarket. And remember, that's assuming you're buying smart, hitting the discount grocers, and actually cooking at home. And the tough news? We're still fighting an upward trend here. Overall food prices are forecast to rise another 4 to 6% in 2026. That tacks on nearly $1,000 more per year to a typical family's grocery bill. With inflation pushing costs up, especially a 5 to 7% expected spike in meat prices due to supply chain and weather issues, a family of four is now looking at shelling out over $17,500 a year just to keep the fridge stocked. Then we have transportation, and this creates a massive financial divide depending on how you choose to get around. Opting for a monthly public transit pass in a major city, that runs about $100 to $160. But car ownership? Wow, that is a staggering $600 to $900 a month when you factor in the vehicle, notoriously high auto insurance rates, especially in Ontario and BC, along with fuel, parking, and maintenance. Honestly, whether you settle in a neighborhood that demands a car or one with solid public transit will totally make or break your monthly budget. All right, now that we've tallied up all these brutal expenses, let's flip the script and look at income reality and the starting wages you can actually expect as a newly arrived migrant. While the median net monthly salary across Canada sits around $4,100, you have to plan for the baseline. The 2026 minimum wage floor across different provinces is the most realistic starting point for tons of entry-level migrant occupations. British Columbia guarantees $18.25 an hour, Ontario's at $17.60, and Alberta sits down at $1,500. But hold on, we need to look at the whole picture here, specifically taxes. You might see Alberta's $15 minimum wage and immediately assume you're worse off than in Ontario. But here's the kicker. Alberta charges zero provincial sales tax, none, just the 5% federal GST. Meanwhile, Atlantic provinces charge a combined 15% tax on goods. So in Alberta, you actually keep significantly more of your purchasing power right at the cash register, which completely balances out that lower hourly wage. It's not just about what you make, it's about what you keep. Okay, let's bring this all together. Here is your final, realistic blueprint for your first year in Canada. This is the absolute bottom line, folks. A single person needs between $3,300 and $3,800 a month to survive comfortably without drowning in debt. A family of four? $5,900 to $6,400. That is over $70,000 a year in after-tax spending just to maintain a baseline standard of living. And frankly, that doesn't even include the massive upfront costs of your initial move. This underscores exactly why you absolutely must run your personal numbers before you make the leap. So, the crucial point we are left with is this. Canada undeniably offers an incredible quality of life, excellent healthcare, and tremendous opportunity. But as you plan this massive relocation, you have to ask yourself a really hard question. Are you willing to pay a massive financial premium just for the prestige of a major hub like Toronto or Vancouver? Or will you use geographic arbitrage, choosing a place like Calgary, Winnipeg, or Halifax to ensure you don't just survive in your new home, but actually thrive? The blueprint is literally in your hands. Where will you build?